like Liz Fraser quality to that song, but also bringing like other band members will sing, and like so adds a bit more variety in terms of the kind of voices you hear on the record. But it just, to me, it's part of it's kind of why I love that Rollo Tomasi album I mentioned earlier, where it's an album that is full of disparate styles and approaches to songs, but it all hangs together. It all makes sense. Like Fucked Up always sound like themselves, even when they're doing like a Panda Bear song. Like they still sound like the same group. Like it doesn't sound like it's not like kids putting on their parents' clothes and looking ridiculous in the process. Like
Gotcha.
they adopt these styles in a way that suits them in a very admirable fashion. And again, it's one of those records too where lyrically it's brilliant, musically it hits really hard, and it's a phenomenal album from front to back.
Nice. All right. Yeah, I thought you might get that one, that it was going to be Soccer Mommy. When I mentioned that I had a couple of like Liz Phair kind of influenced albums, certainly a kinship with those. But Soccer Mommy is clean. When I got this and I listened to it, I was like, this is my album of the year. And then out of all of these things that like moved up and down the list over, and I just kept coming back to this one. And as I was making this list, I'm like, yep. It's still my top album. I think that it'll be interesting to see where she goes. I mean, can she kind of maintain this level of the kind of style that she's doing, or which Exile in Guyville is one of my favorite albums. But I like a lot of Liz Phair beyond that one. That's pretty much the album for me. And then, so is she going to be kind of, is that going to happen where it slowly becomes less and less promising, or is it going to be like Juliana Hatfield, whose music I also love, and definitely Juliana Hatfield has an uneven output, but over the time that she's been making music, they're just some genius albums, and you kind of have to wade through all the stuff in between. You get to the next great one.
But the Nico Cases of the world, where they're pretty consistent all the way through.
Yeah, exactly. And so I loved how how just unapologetically, this is a woman writing about sex and like just the sexual politics of men and women in a way that was like refreshingly honest to me, and all of the just upfront about insecurities, but then also in some instances feeling really confident about yourself. And and it was just, I don't know, I loved it. And I don't know why this one hit me this year, but and this is some years there's an album. Sometimes there's an album. Much like sometimes there's the dude. But yeah, there's a man for our times. This was the album for this year for me. And I kept everything else kind of was, it just at some point in listening back to and there was a lot of great music this year. It just without fail in a really awful backwards, socially fucked up political climate, we get some great music, and it seemed like there was just a ton of great albums this year, but this one just started at the top, stayed at the top for me. I
mean, it's true. I mean, 2008 is definitely a year that will live in infamy. If there are future historians to make those kind of documents.
I mean, they might all be shot. Who knows?
Who knows? But at the very least, we could say it has been a pretty remarkable year for music. We've only covered the iceberg of what's out there.
Yeah. Well, it'll be a lot easier to cover the iceberg as it continues to shrink. So.
Wah, wah, wah.
But yeah, what is it now? It's not history is written by the winners. It's history is written by the people who shoot the people who write the history books.
Basically, Jesus.
Oh man, but so I mean, I feel like we might have actually done it. And we were going to talk about a lot more stuff, but we had so much music to talk about that we're almost at what are we at here? We're almost at 2 hours. So I think that this might be a good place to put a pin in it.
I think so too. Yeah, it feels right.
It feels like we did it. Well, okay. So real quick, we'll just because I know we've each seen a lot of shows this year. We each follow a ton of music. We follow music blogs, music literature, whatever. What's just kind of a something that you'll walk away from this year glad that you experienced, whether it was a concert or something you read or.
Oh wow, that's a hard one for me. Honestly, I really have to go back to because I mentioned it earlier in November. I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but that day where I drove down to the Day of the Dead parade in Tucson. Mm-hmm. I mean, for me, that was a really important day for me. Not just because I listened to some great music on the way home and broadened my horizons, but on the way to Tucson, I had a tire blowout, which my tire's been good for years. It's the first time it's happened in a long time. And, I had to pull off the side of the 101, and I'm trying to change the tire, and it's middle of the day, and there's cars whizzing by every couple of seconds. And and this guy, out of nowhere, pulls his car up next to mine and says, "Hey, can I help you?" And I didn't get his name. He didn't ask me for anything. I didn't say yes. He just got out of his car, and for 20 minutes, he helped me fix the tire. And it's not a significant thing, but at the time that it happened, I was feeling really, again, with the way things have been going, over this year, the news, I just felt it was in a really dark place where I'm like, fuck humanity. You can't really trust anybody. I just didn't feel good about people. And this dude who I had no connection to, looked like about 20 years older than me. We barely exchanged names or any information at all. He just stopped, took time out of his day to help me fix my tire. And as soon as it was done, he just nodded and he left.
Huh.
And I drove to Tucson. It made me feel oddly hopeful that I was able to get down there because some stranger helped me for no benefit on his part.
Wow.
So it's not necessarily an art thing, but I think that's one of those memories I'll take with me next year. Was just remembering, yeah, as a species, we're probably fucked, but on an individual level, there's still good people out there.
You know what? I'm not even going to mention anything because I think that's a good one to go out on.
Oh, well, thank you.
I think that's a good way to wrap it up. And thank you. This is going to end up being the last show for the year, so I really appreciate you doing it. And even though you're getting over a cold, you kind of gritted your teeth and went through it anyway. And it was great to talk to you and to go through our lists. And
yeah, well, it's always a pleasure.
Geek out about some great albums. So thank you, sir.
And goodbye 2018.
Yeah, and good riddance. All right, that's it. That's the show. Thanks as always for listening. Again, a big thanks to Ashley Naftule for doing the show. And he was overcoming a cold. So if you hear some coughing and sneezing in the background, that's he was getting over that cold. And he showed up anyway because he's that kind of guy. And, if like I said, I'll put the entire list up on the blog, and you can see that there, and support all of these artists, and that's gonna do it. That's gonna do it for 2018. And thank you for listening, and see you on down the road. Thank you.